Regret doesn't always knock. Sometimes it just haunts in silence. They said it didn't hurt. They said they were fine, smiling like nothing happened, acting like you were just a phase, a lesson, a pit stop. But you've seen it, those little cracks in the mask, the way they hesitate before they talk about you, the way their energy changes when your name gets mentioned. They said they moved on, but everything about them is screaming one thing: regret, loud, clear, and honest in ways their words never were. Hey folks, imagine this. A candle gets blown out and the room falls dark. Everyone thinks the flame is gone, but deep in the wick, there's still fire, waiting. That's you. They tried to blow you out, but all they did was give you space to reignite. Stronger, sharper, untouchable. They didn't know that walking away from you was like cutting the cord on their own oxygen supply. Because here's the truth, they didn't lose you. They lost access to the only person who would have stood beside them when everyone else walked away. And now, their actions are doing all the talking. You see, my friends, regret isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with apologies or grand gestures. Sometimes, regret is watching someone else become everything you swore they couldn't be without you. That's what hits hardest. They thought they broke you, but now they scroll past your life and suddenly their silence starts to feel like weight. Their laughter becomes forced. Their "I'm good" starts to sound hollow even to them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And folks, that's what this journey is all about. Not proving them wrong with rage, but becoming so right within yourself, they wouldn't even recognize the person you've become. Let's be real, the world told you to scream when you're hurt. But the Stoics? They teach us that silence is the highest form of power. Because silence doesn't mean weakness. It means you've stopped negotiating your worth with people too cheap to afford it. They're out there pretending it didn't hurt, posting like life's a highlight reel. But deep down, every scroll, every replay of memories, every almost text they never send, it's all rooted in one thing: regret. They thought you'd chase. But now you've disappeared into your peace. And peace, folks, is the one thing they never expected you to find without them. So as we begin today's journey, I want you to let go of the idea that you need their words to confirm their regret. Their actions already did that for you. They said it didn't hurt, but life has a funny way of revealing the truth through behavior, not words. You don't need to watch them fall. You just need to keep rising, quietly, relentlessly, without apology. Your power now? It's unshakable. Your silence? It's sacred. And your life? It's about to echo louder than their lies ever did. Type it in the comments. I choose quiet strength. Smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel and stay with me, because today we're not exposing anyone. We're elevating you. Number 1. Regret doesn't always speak. Sometimes it hides in silence. Just because they're quiet doesn't mean they're at peace. Let's be honest. Some of the loudest screams in this world don't come from voices. They come from silence, from nervous fingers tapping through stories they shouldn't be watching, from half-written messages they delete before sending, from eyes that light up at your name but mouths that pretend they forgot. You see, folks, when they said it didn't hurt, they wanted you to believe they were stronger, that leaving you didn't shake them, that losing you was just another easy decision. But what they didn't realize was that regret is not always a thunderstorm. It's a slow leak in the soul. It doesn't crash in. It seeps steadily, quietly, day after day, until they wake up wondering why nothing feels the same anymore. Think about it like this. Imagine someone walking out of a warm room into the snow. At first, they feel fine, invincible, free. But slowly, the cold starts to creep in. They rub their arms. They tell themselves they're okay. But the longer they stand out there, the more they realize they left something behind, something irreplaceable. That's what it feels like when someone lets go of a genuine soul, thinking they can find it again later. That warmth you gave, it wasn't random. It was rare. And now that it's gone, their silence is screaming what their ego won't say. They might not admit it. They may post more selfies than ever. They may act unbothered in front of friends. But watch closely. The same people who claim to have moved on are the ones still checking your page, still trying to get reactions, still throwing little breadcrumbs hoping you'll bite. Why? Because silence exposes the truth they try so hard to bury. They can fake peace, but they can't fake presence. And once your energy is gone, nothing they reach for feels the same. Now here's where it gets tricky, my friends. You might be wondering, if they regret it, why don't they just say something? Why not just own up to it? Because regret and pride don't play well together. Admitting they were wrong would mean admitting they gave up something rare. And some people would rather sit in quiet misery than confront that kind of truth. Because the second they acknowledge their mistake, they have to sit with what they lost. And that, for many, is unbearable. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." But people who operate from ego don't live by that code. They say what serves them in the moment, not what's rooted in truth. They said it didn't hurt because admitting otherwise would mean surrendering power. And for them, control means everything, even if it means lying to themselves. It hurts, doesn't it? Watching someone walk away from something real like it was disposable. You gave them love without manipulation, loyalty without conditions. You stayed when others wouldn't have. And still, they turned their back, and now they're out there pretending that it didn't cost them anything. But you know better. You've started to understand that silence is not absence, it's exposure. Because you don't have to shout for the truth to be heard. You just have to watch what people do when the show is over and the audience is gone. That's when it hits them. In the quiet. In the spaces where your presence used to live. In the laughs that don't land the same. In the new people who don't connect the same. In the moments where they start to realize it wasn't just about you being in their life. It was about who they became because of you, and who they can't become without you now. And yet some of you still wonder, why do I care if they regret it? Why does part of me still wish they'd just say it? Because you're human, and humans want closure. We want validation. We want the people who hurt us to acknowledge the wound they caused. But here's the Stoic truth. You don't need their apology to heal. You don't need them to admit they messed up. Their behavior already did that. Their silence, awkward, loud, unignorable, already confessed everything you needed to hear. And the reason it's difficult to accept that is because we've been conditioned to believe that closure comes in conversations. But real closure? It comes in clarity, and sometimes clarity shows up when you least expect it, in the form of a quiet story view, a refollow, a vague text from someone who said they moved on. That's not coincidence. That's the beginning of the crumble. That's the echo of a choice they once made, coming back to haunt them. So let's get this straight. Your value was never based on their ability to see it. Their silence doesn't lower your worth. It reveals their blindness. And when they realize what they gave up, it won't be fireworks. It won't be some grand movie scene where they run back and confess everything. It'll be subtle, quiet. Regret doesn't roar, it whispers. It shows up in patterns, in pauses, in late-night memories and half-hearted replacements that never quite fill the space you once did. And that, my friends, is when you win, not by rubbing it in, not by reacting, but by rising, calmly, completely, without apology, because the loudest message you can send to someone who took you for granted is your silence matched with success, your absence paired with peace. So here's your reminder. If they said it didn't hurt, but everything about their life says otherwise, believe the actions. The soul always tells the truth, even when the mouth doesn't. And your job now is not to wait for their confession. It's to keep becoming someone they can never reach again. Number 2, why they downplay the pain publicly. People don't lie to you because of who you are. They lie to protect who they pretend to be. They'll laugh louder, post more, act like they're thriving. Throw out those cliché lines. It is what it is. I'm good, or the all-time favorite. It didn't even affect me. But let's be honest, most people don't wear pain like a wound. They wear it like a disguise, carefully stitched, tightly zipped. Why? Because the moment they admit it hurt is the moment their entire ego scaffolding starts to collapse. When they lost you, they didn't just lose a person. They lost the mirror that made them feel safe, special, worthy, without having to earn it. And now, they've got a point to prove, not to you, but to everyone watching. Because God forbid someone thinks they were the one who messed it up. That's why they try so hard to perform peace, to showcase strength they don't feel. Because in their world, appearances are everything, and accountability is a threat. My friends, understand this. When someone downplays their pain, they're not doing it because it didn't hurt. They're doing it because the truth is too big to face. Admitting they lost someone good, that means confronting everything they ignored when they had you. The moments they dismissed your care, the loyalty they didn't return, the chances they burned through, and you think they're just going to say, "Yeah, I messed up." Not when their identity was built on the belief that they're the one in control. Here's a metaphor for you. Imagine a sinking ship, but instead of fixing the hole, the captain just paints the deck. That's them. They'll decorate the wreckage before they ever admit it's going under, and from a distance, it might even look convincing. But step closer, and the damage is obvious. You feel it in their eyes, in their overdone confidence, in the constant need to post, perform, pretend. They'll say it didn't hurt, but their life becomes louder. Not fuller, just louder. Because noise is a great distraction from emptiness. And the more they try to convince the world they're okay, the more they're really trying to convince themselves. The psychology is simple. If I can look unbothered, maybe the regret will stay hidden. But regret is a parasite. It feeds on silence. It gnaws at the inside until all that's left is a hollow smile and shaky pride. You ever wonder why they moved on so fast? Why the new person shows up like a copy and paste version of you? It's not because they healed. It's because they panicked. When someone loses what they didn't think they'd lose, they don't always go inward. They go into hiding, behind distraction, behind denial, behind someone new. But no matter how hard they try, the echo of what they lost always finds them. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." That's why they pretend, that's why they avoid, because the moment they admit the pain is the moment they must admit they had something worth holding on to, and they let it go. And so they perform, they overcompensate, they create this illusion of peace when really they're dodging shadows. Their greatest fear isn't your absence, it's that your absence makes sense, that maybe, just maybe, they were the reason for the silence. And here's where it gets empowering for you. You don't need to call them out. You don't need to post cryptic quotes. You don't need to play detective or drop hints. You just watch, quietly. Because true emotional intelligence is knowing what someone feels without them having to say a word. And right now, their actions are writing a story their ego won't narrate. But you know, you've seen it before. The forced joy, the sudden glow-ups, the fake gratitude. It's not growth, It's guilt in a costume. It's not your job to peel the mask off. It's not your job to make them admit it. That's their work, your work. It's to keep your peace sacred, to not mistake their denial for healing, to not confuse their loudness with strength. Some of the strongest people are the quietest ones in the room, not because they have nothing to say, but because they've already heard the lies and chose to outgrow them. Let's break one more lie here. They didn't move on, they moved around. Moving on is growth. Moving around is panic. And while they're spinning in that circle, trying to outrun regret, you're rising in a straight line, slow, steady, untouchable. That's the part they didn't expect. That your silence would grow roots, that your detachment wasn't bitterness, it was wisdom. So when they smile like they're fine, let them. When they act unbothered, let them. When they tell the world it didn't hurt, let them. Because your peace is not built on their confession. It's built on the truth you already know, and the growth you're already living. Say it out loud if you're ready to reclaim that truth. Type it in the comments. Their silence exposed everything. Let the world see it. Let you see it. Because what's coming next, it's going to cut deeper into the rebound, the running, the pretending, and why none of it saves them from what they lost. Stay with me, we're just getting started. Number 3, their obsession with moving on. Fast isn't healing, it's hiding. Healing isn't a sprint, and running fast doesn't mean they're running forward. You've seen it before. The moment they leave, they start posting more. New friends, new energy. Suddenly, they're at the gym, at the club, at peace. At least that's the show they're selling. But if you watch closely, closer than the filters and the captions, what you'll really see is panic wearing a smile. Because moving on fast doesn't always mean healing. Sometimes it means they're terrified of sitting still. Because if they sit still long enough, the truth will catch up. The truth that you weren't the one they needed to replace. You were the one they needed to reflect on. But reflection takes courage. It takes stillness. It takes accountability. And let's be honest, folks, most people would rather rush into a distraction than slow down and face the wreckage they created. It's not growth, it's avoidance. Like putting a band-aid on a bullet wound and telling the world you're fine. They rush into someone new not because they're ready, but because they're afraid. Afraid of the void you left behind. Afraid of their own silence. Afraid of realizing that the reason they feel empty isn't because you're gone. It's because they never knew how to fill themselves without someone else doing the work for them. Imagine this. A house catches fire, and instead of stopping to rebuild, they just move into the next place that's still standing. That's what they do when they rush to move on. They carry the same flames with them, the same broken wiring, the same pain, and eventually that new place, it burns too, because they never actually healed. They just relocated the damage. And maybe you're sitting there wondering, why does it feel like they're happy? Why does it seem like they're glowing while I'm still picking up pieces? Because you're actually doing the work. You're rebuilding from the inside out. Quietly, painfully, honestly. And that kind of healing, it doesn't look shiny. It doesn't look good on social media, but it lasts. It transforms. It doesn't need a new body or a rebound relationship to be validated. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And right now, they're trying to repaint their life with colors that look calm, confident, clean. But beneath that surface, chaos. Emotional dust they never swept out, regret trapped behind forced positivity. They thought moving on fast would erase what they did. But speed doesn't delete the truth. It only delays the breakdown. You see, when someone moves on fast, they're often trying to prove something. Not to you, but to themselves. I'm okay. I'm better without them. I don't need anyone. But the louder that voice gets, the more it reveals how deeply they're trying to drown the echo of regret. They aren't showing you they've healed. They're trying to convince themselves they didn't mess up. And that's the saddest part. Because no matter how many smiles they post, they can't unfeel what they felt with you. You weren't just a person. You were an experience, a frequency, a reflection, and you can't replace a frequency with just a face. They try, though. They try hard. They jump from one connection to the next, hoping someone will make them feel the way you did, safe, seen, centered. But every new connection just reminds them of the one they destroyed. And that's the loop. That's the quiet punishment. They keep running, but end up exactly where they started. More confused, more numb, more haunted. This isn't about hating them. It's about understanding them without letting their chaos interrupt your clarity. It's about seeing through the performance without buying a ticket to the show. Because while they move fast, you move deep. And depth, my friends, always wins in the end. Healing isn't about how many people you date or how many nights you stay busy. Healing is how many demons you face when no one is watching. It's the conversations you have with yourself, the accountability you don't post, the peace that comes not from escape, but from endurance. And that's what you're doing. You're not hiding behind noise. You're sitting in the silence and building something real. So if you're tempted to compare your quiet growth to their loud distractions, remember this. A tree doesn't apologize for growing slow. It doesn't rush to bloom. It digs deep roots. It survives storms. And when the time is right, it stands tall, steady, unshakable. Let them run. Let them perform. Let them say they're over it. Because the truth always outlasts the performance. And healing, real healing, it can't be rushed. It can't be posted. It shows up in the peace you carry, not the image you portray. And if you're reading this thinking, I wish they saw what I'm becoming, know this. They will. Maybe not now, maybe not through your words, but through your energy, your silence, your growth. Regret doesn't knock at the start. It shows up when the lights go down and the noise fades. When they realize they ran from something that wasn't chasing them, and now they can't find their way back. So don't chase, don't compete, don't try to prove you're winning. You're already doing something they're afraid to do. You're healing. Write this in the comments if this part hit home. I choose depth over distraction. Show yourself, show the world around you, and stay with me. Because in the next part, we're going to talk about what happens when your glow-up becomes the very mirror they can't bear to look into. Number 4, how your growth becomes their mirror. You don't haunt them with your presence, you haunt them with your progress. They may not say it, but they see it. Every little shift, every quiet glow-up, every part of your life that's leveling up without them. They may scroll past it quickly, but not because they don't care. It's because they care too much. Your growth, it stings. Not because it's loud or flashy, but because it's undeniable. Because now, every new version of you becomes a mirror they can't avoid. And it reflects everything they lost, everything they doubted, and everything they could have grown beside, but didn't. You see, folks, there comes a moment in your healing when you stop trying to prove a point. You stop posting for attention. You stop explaining yourself to people who never wanted to understand you. And it's in that stillness, where you're no longer performing for anyone, that the real transformation begins. And that's the exact moment they start to feel it. Not your words, not your tears, but your evolution. Imagine someone who once had the keys to a castle, but they thought it was just a cottage. They left, said it wasn't enough, believed there was something better waiting. But now they watch as that same place becomes a fortress, elegant, guarded, untouchable. They want back in, but the gates have changed. The locks are different. The space isn't theirs anymore. That's what your growth becomes. a place they recognize but can no longer enter, and it eats them up. It starts slow. They might accidentally like an old photo. View your stories at 2 a.m. Ask mutual friends about you without really asking. They'll never admit they're watching, but they are. Because every step forward you take, every smile that doesn't involve them, every moment of peace you post, it reminds them that they were never your source of joy, that you're thriving without what they thought you needed. And you want to know the twist? They didn't think you had it in you. They thought you'd stay stuck, thought you'd break, that your silence was a sign of weakness, not wisdom. But Stoic strength, my friends, doesn't make noise. It makes moves, and that's exactly what you're doing. Not to get their attention, not to trigger them, but because you finally saw what they were distracting you from, yourself. The Roman philosopher Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And you're done wasting it on people who didn't see your worth when it was freely given. Now they're witnessing what it looks like when you pour that energy into yourself instead. And nothing exposes regret like seeing the person you underestimated become the version of themselves you secretly feared they'd one day discover. But let's be clear, your growth isn't revenge. It's a return. A return to the person you were always meant to be before they blurred your vision, before you lowered your standards, before you twisted yourself into someone digestible just so they wouldn't choke on your brilliance. Now you shine without shrinking, and that shine, it's not loud, it's not arrogant, it's just real, and that kind of authenticity is blinding to those who are still hiding behind masks. They'll pretend it doesn't bother them. They'll act like your wins don't touch them. But what they say and what they feel are two very different things. You've become the proof of everything they denied. And not because you rubbed it in, but because they can't look away. That's the thing about growth. It doesn't need to chase recognition. It pulls it, quietly, powerfully, inevitably. And maybe you're thinking, but what if they don't care? What if they really did move on? Let me tell you something. People who don't care don't lurk. They don't send mixed signals. They don't mimic your energy to get your attention. People who are truly healed don't look back. But if they're watching you, even from afar, that's not peace. That's curiosity, mixed with regret. So what do you do with this knowledge? Do you clap back, flex harder, make sure they see every move you make? No, you keep moving in silence, because your elevation isn't about making them look small. It's about no longer making yourself small to keep them comfortable. That's the shift. That's the power. And don't let their silence fool you. Don't let their "I'm happy for them" attitude confuse you. Real regret isn't always explosive. Sometimes it's the look in their eyes when your name comes up. Sometimes it's the awkward pause when they hear your success. Sometimes it's the quiet delete of an unsent message they typed at 3 a.m. That's what it looks like when your growth becomes their mirror, a mirror that reflects the truth they've been trying to avoid. You didn't need them to become the person they swore you couldn't be. If this section hit something in your heart, type it in the comments right now. I became their mirror. Let them see it. Let you see it. Because what's coming next? We're not just talking about reflection anymore. We're diving into what happens when their guilt starts reaching out, wrapped in fake apologies and subtle attempts to reopen the door they once slammed shut. Stay with me. Number 5. The subtle ways. They try to reconnect without saying sorry. When someone regrets losing you but can't humble themselves to admit it, they don't apologize. They test your silence. It starts with something small, a random story view, a playlist they know you'd notice, a comment on a mutual friend's post, a song that played during your hardest moment showing up on their story. No context, no explanation, just breadcrumbs, little signals thrown into the wind, hoping you'll catch one and reach out. This isn't by accident, my friends. This is calculated confusion. It's not closure. It's curiosity, wrapped in ego. You see, people who regret hurting you but aren't strong enough to take accountability don't reach for healing. They reach for control. They don't say, "I miss you and I'm sorry." Instead, they say, "Hey, just checking in," like they forgot the weight of what they did. Like silence hasn't been holding everything together in your world. Like they didn't watch you crumble and vanish and rebuild, all while pretending they didn't see the damage. They don't want to open their wounds. They want to see if yours are still bleeding. Because if you respond, they'll know they still matter. If you reply, they'll feel validated, that they still have access, that they're still on your mind, that they still hold a thread of power over the soul they once tried to tangle. But you've changed, haven't you? You've grown past needing chaos to feel seen, past needing confusion to feel connection. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." And that's what they're testing, not your love, your mind, your discipline, your resolve. Because reaching out with half-baked texts and accidental likes is not connection, it's bait. They want to see if the version of you they once manipulated still lives in your body. But the truth is, that version no longer exists. You buried them the moment you realized silence wasn't empty, it was freedom. And still, you feel it. That temptation, that rush of heart when their name pops up, that voice in your head whispering, maybe they've changed, maybe they finally get it. But remember this, growth doesn't knock twice with the same face wearing a different mask. And regret. Regret isn't always about love. Sometimes it's about convenience, about comfort, about nostalgia without accountability. They remember the version of you that gave without asking, that forgave without boundaries, that stayed while bleeding. But what they forget is that pain is the greatest architect of evolution. It reshaped you. It rewired your entire nervous system. So now, a simple hey doesn't reach you the way it used to. A late-night text no longer opens a door. It confirms you closed the right one. And the sad part, they don't even realize what they're doing, because most people don't know how to hold their guilt, so they throw it into your inbox. They don't come to apologize, they come to feel better. And that's the part you must guard. Your peace, your energy, your dignity. Because every time you let someone back in who hasn't earned your growth, you invite the same wound into a different chapter. There's no wisdom in reopening the door just because they're knocking softer. They still haven't said what needs to be said. And you're not looking for an apology because you're desperate. You're looking for it because you know you deserved better. But Stoic mastery doesn't beg for accountability. It becomes the closure it never received. You don't wait for them to say the right words. You live in a way that makes those words irrelevant. Their "I was thinking about you" is not love. It's a probe. Their "I hope you're okay" isn't compassion. It's an echo of a guilt they can't outrun. And every subtle move they make is not a door. They're testing the window, hoping it's still cracked. Don't leave it open. Don't mistake crumbs for a meal. You've been starving for truth long enough. Don't feed yourself the same illusion twice. This is where your silence becomes sacred, not as punishment, but as proof. Proof that you've evolved, that you've grown into someone who no longer accepts diluted affection or recycled regret, that you've become someone who doesn't just survive heartbreak, but outgrows the entire pattern. They had their chance to speak clearly, to apologize loudly, to return with truth. They didn't. So don't let their whisper convince you to step backward. The kind of peace you're building now, it's fragile, precious. It doesn't need confusion tiptoeing through the cracks. If their regret is real, it will speak, boldly, cleanly, with action, not performance. Until then, let them sit in their silence. Let them watch you rise. Let your boundaries say what your lips no longer need to. If this part resonated with you, if you've seen those breadcrumb moments and stayed strong, type this in the comments. I don't respond to confusion. Because you don't, not anymore. You respond to clarity, to healing, to truth. And if they can't bring that, they don't get access. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll pull back the curtain on the psychology behind why they can't admit they messed up, and why that admission terrifies them more than losing you ever did. Number 6, the psychology of regret, why they can't admit it. People don't fear being wrong, they fear being seen. You've probably asked yourself this more than once. Why won't they just say it? Why won't they admit they hurt me? The regret is obvious. The signs are everywhere. But the words, they never come. And not because they don't know what they did. They know. Deep down, they always knew. But admitting it would mean stepping down from the pedestal they built for themselves, a pedestal made of pride, ego, and self-preservation. The truth is, some people aren't wired to handle the weight of accountability. It's too heavy for a heart built on denial. So instead of saying, I'm sorry, they deflect. Instead of saying, I was wrong, they rewrite history. Instead of showing remorse, they create distraction. They can't apologize, because to do that, they'd have to admit they weren't the hero in your story. They were the damage. And their identity can't survive that level of honesty. You see, folks, regret isn't just an emotion, it's a confrontation. It's looking in the mirror and seeing the version of yourself you pretend doesn't exist. And that's terrifying. Most people spend their whole lives building up a version of themselves they can stomach. One that's always justified, always right, always the victim when things fall apart. So when they hurt someone real, someone genuine, loyal, kind, they don't process the guilt. They bury it. They bury it under, you were too sensitive. Under, I needed to do what was best for me. Under, we just weren't aligned. But let's be honest, these aren't reasons, they're rehearsals. Ways to soften the blow, not for you, but for themselves. Because if they actually sat down and said, I broke something beautiful because I was selfish, I lost someone who would have stayed because I couldn't face myself, that would shatter the illusion. And illusions are sacred to people who build their self-worth on fiction. Epictetus once said, people are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. And what view do they choose? One that keeps them untouched, one that erases your pain from the narrative, one that makes them the one who had no choice. Because if they admitted the truth, that they betrayed a good soul, pushed away love, sabotaged stability, it wouldn't just change how you see them, it would change how they see themselves. And not everyone's ready for that. That's the psychology behind it. That's why they go silent. That's why they avoid eye contact in rooms where your name is mentioned. That's why they replace you quickly, post like they're healed, and act like nothing happened. Because saying nothing feels safer than admitting everything, and you, who offered clarity, consistency, truth, have now become a threat. A walking reminder of the version of themselves they're still too scared to face. And it's hard, isn't it? Watching someone act unaffected when you know they're not. Seeing them smile like they won when the truth is eating them alive. But here's the shift. It's not your job to be their conscience. It's not your job to pull an apology out of someone who's drowning in denial. You are not their lesson. You are your own liberation. You didn't need their confession to grow. You needed their absence. You didn't need their guilt to move forward. You needed your dignity. And the reason they can't say I'm sorry has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their lack of emotional maturity. They didn't betray you because you weren't enough. They betrayed you because they weren't ready to be seen that clearly. You showed them their patterns. You challenged their illusions. You didn't accept surface-level connections, and they mistook that for pressure instead of depth. You didn't ask for perfection. You asked for presence, and they couldn't give it, not because you were too much, but because they were too little. So instead of growing up, they ran. Instead of saying the truth, they twisted it, because people don't avoid you when they're over it. They avoid you when you reflect something they're still hiding from, and that's where you reclaim your power, not by waiting, not by hoping they'll one day come back with a clear heart and open eyes, but by realizing that your closure doesn't live in their mouth. It lives in your mind, your clarity, your peace. You get to walk away knowing you showed up with real love. And whether or not they ever say it out loud, their silence already confirmed the truth. So if this part felt too real, if it hit that spot in your chest you've been trying to ignore, write this in the comments. I don't need their words to validate my truth. Because you don't. Not anymore. And stay with me, because next we're going to talk about the exact moment when your detachment becomes undeniable, and they finally realize they lost access to a version of you they can never reach again. Number 7. Conclusion. Your peace is the proof they were wrong. They thought silence meant surrender, that because you didn't fight back, you were broken. But what they failed to understand is this: silence isn't weakness, it's mastery, it's control. It's the sound of someone who doesn't beg for closure, doesn't chase apologies, and no longer needs to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding them. While they ran from their guilt, you walked into your greatness, quietly, consistently, unapologetically. Your peace? That's the justice. Your calm presence? That's the confession they'll never voice. And your evolution? That's the sentence they serve, watching the person they lost become someone they'll never know again. That's the real power, my friends. Not revenge, not rage, restraint. So if you've ever been doubted, discarded, or dismissed, remember this: you don't need to rise to prove them wrong. You rise because you've already been right, and when they finally realize what they lost, your silence will be the only answer they'll hear. Drop it in the comments. My silence is my power. This is Powerful Stoic Habits, where pain turns into peace and silence becomes your strongest reply. Until next time, protect your peace like your life depends on it, because it does.